If we can see 1000x, like we are already seeing so much trading volume, that would be definitely amazing for anyone holding XRP, because they would literally turn millionaires overnight. Over 133 million in 24-hour trading volume on a bit. And again, this is what I've been telling you guys. Koreans are the next big thing that, we are waiting for. They also have tons of regulation. South Korea passes major tokenized security law. Banks can now tokenize bonds, stocks, and private equity on blockchain. That's what I was telling you guys. RWA, real world assets, are becoming the thing. And Korea, once they do their own type of security and commissions and everything like that, that's when we're really going to be seeing crypto explode, because we have to have the regulation in place before we see the retails entering. Hey, Jonathan.
And how this can impact us, the XRP holders. So South Korea's groundbreaking new law on tokenized securities, enabling banks and financial institutions to tokenize bonds, stocks, and private equity on blockchain, marks a systemic shift in the region's approach to digital assets. This large change, combined with South Korea's position as one of the most active crypto markets and XRP's top status by trading volume, has several crucial implications for the Ripple ecosystem. So let's go ahead and understand what the South Korean law does. The law modernizes existing securities rules, explicitly allowing the tokenization of traditional financial assets using blockchain technology. Distributed ledger technology is now legally recognized as a medium of issuance and settlement of securities, aligning with tokenized securities with established processes for clearing, settlement, and investor protections. Remember, all over the world, countries in all these different jurisdictions are trying to figure out the best path forward.
That's why like companies in Korea did not buy XRP yet, is because they were afraid that they will have a problem if they buy it. They thought it will be a security, and that's why we didn't get anyone in these big companies. Been saying it for months about South Korea. That's the thing. South Korea, it has so much money. You guys have to realize South Korea has a big portion of money coming in, and they have not been buying Terra Luna Classic, which has a similar technology to XRP and less demand, so to say. Terra Luna Classic right now has gone off, and only one person, or one project has survived, and that is XRP. And all of these people who bought XRP, we're seeing, this 2050x is now possible, because you had a market before from going all the way from Terra Luna Classic. You see all this money coming now to XRP. So if you understand me, all the money from Terra Luna Classic is now coming to XRP from the Korean markets. I know it's a bit hard to understand, but the main point here is tokenization is becoming a real thing. We're having retail investors coming in, and we're also seeing a lot of people coming back to crypto. More and more people are talking about crypto nowadays.
It's old to the new blockchain system that all of this value is going to wind up on. This is why we talk about HBAR and XRP and other asset classes that we see, like Algorand as well, that are going to be home to trillions of dollars of financial assets here in the future. It also says the Financial Services Commission and newly established Korea Digital Asset Industry Association will set rules and oversee compliance, including for crypto exchanges, custodians, and brokers, and institutional participation, which is previously restricted, will now be permitted for regulated entities. Nice. The law is part of a regional push across Asia to integrate digital assets.
So yeah, Asia is still a very big market for crypto, which I feel like trillions could be coming in, or at least billions, but trillions on the long term. Because again, trillions might now sound insane, like 1 to 3 trillion. But we already see the crypto market being very undervalued, in my opinion, at 3 trillion. 1 trillion in XRP is not that insane when more and more money is getting printed into this world. And more of this money is going to go into crypto. There's so much money which went into real estate, which real estate might still go up. And people will be looking for the next big thing, which is XRP.
Into traditional finance and designed to attract global capital and foster innovation. So XRP's dominance in South Korea. XRP is the most traded token in South Korea's major exchanges, often exceeding Bitcoin and Ethereum in local volume. For example, on Upbit, XRP's recently accounted for 19% of daily trading volume, with about 671 million per day. The thing is, if
I'm pretty sure they have like 30% of trading volume. So 30% of trading volume, this small country, it's a lot of people, but instead of like 30%, and probably like 50% is US. So it definitely makes you think like they have a big market opening up into XRP.
when XRP takes off and gets us to a place where a lot of us can say, you know, boss, you know, here, who's looking forward to making this phone call? You know what, boss? I will be making it in today. Yeah, I'm a millionaire now. Good luck. Take care. I know a lot of us are waiting to make that phone call, right? See, except my phone call will probably be to my wife saying, hey, babe, you know.
So yeah, I probably was muted there, but what I basically said is big amounts of money are coming into XRP, which I am definitely excited because it's a very big crypto market cap. So yeah, that's the most important factor is all of this money is Korea is a pretty big market that we haven't been seeing, you know, before enter because of all this regulation problems.
It's time you can quit your job now instead of me calling my boss, but yeah. All good. South Korea's financial institutions, through regulated custodians like BDAX, can now safely and legally custody and transact with XRP, making it much easier for banks and corporations to integrate XRP into their operations and portfolios. That is exactly what we want to see. Ripple's strategic moves and institutional partnerships. Ripple has announced new partnerships in South Korea, such as BDAX for institutional.
Yeah, so the Asian markets are pretty big for crypto. It could literally, you know, be trillions coming in. I don't know if you guys heard me, but, you know, billions. There's so much money in the markets.
XRP custody, which allows banks, investment firms, and corporations to interact with XRP within a compliant domestic framework. This reduces prior uncertainty and the need for cumbersome offshore arrangements.
So yeah, there's also Southeast Asian markets. I know they don't bring as much money. Japanese markets. You know, there is a lot more money than just Korea that we could be seeing a very big trend. But again, Korea is going to be the first one that is going to take the regulation in check. And we're going to be seeing a very big portion of people coming into crypto. And, you know, just from Korea. Korea is like 30% of trading volume. So there could be, you know, billions and billions pumping right now.
Ripple is investing in market education, developer initiatives, and product integration specifically in Korea as part of its partnership with Catalyze Research and concerted outreach efforts. Also, too, you know, if XRP is the most traded cryptocurrency in South Korea, if and when this all takes off, aren't South Koreans going to benefit the most from this? Because that is what they are actively most interested in.
Especially Korean institutions. I don't feel like there's any Korean institution that has bought into XRP yet. Maybe a very small portion is a Korean institution. So again, who has the most money? Big corporations. Big corporations buying crypto is going to be the next big thing in 2026.
Over Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I think when you look at XRP's use case compared to Bitcoin right now, XRP has...
Yeah, so XRP, I feel like has more use case. The reason why I feel like Bitcoin will go up is because it has the ETF first and also way more, it was way earlier than XRP. So you can see here, business to business payments, you know, Bitcoin only has store of value, but it's always going to be on the #1 spot because it is the first crypto to come out. You know, always like Amazon is always going to be the #1 because Amazon has been the first. But XRP is going to be first in these transactions, these transfers. There's other competitors who might do it better, but they will never have the partnerships that XRP has. So keep that in mind. There are other projects, in my opinion, that are better, you know, at doing what XRP does, are doing more transfers, faster transfers, but they will never work with banks. You know, they don't have enough funds to set up those expensive meetings. And, you know, XRP will slowly but surely catch up with the $200 million partnership to become the #1 payment transfer for fast transfers, projects, whatever, you name it.
A lot more to offer. Now, it gets a little more complicated when you go Ethereum to XRP because we are just now getting the EVM sidechain on the XRP ledger where developers are starting to come in and build this infrastructure that's going to require more XRP. But Ethereum has had all of this for many years, and that's why they have so much development and deployment building out on Ethereum. Let's see here. We talked about Ripple is investing in market education. As the country rolls rolls out legal clarity for security tokens and tokenized asset trading, Ripple's infrastructure, especially the XRP ledger programmability and compliance features, can position XRP as a bridge asset for cross-border and multi-asset settlements in South Korea and beyond. South Korea's move aligns its regulatory regime with global trends and is likely to...
So I remember when South Korea was super anti-crypto, but now it's so many traders, they're finally finding out what crypto is. And a lot of traders will now have option to buy more of their XRP or actually buy it and have a use case for it. And that's what I feel like is also going to happen in the US. That's why USA is racing, because if right now XRP has 30% of volume from Korea, this is why Korea is, boosting it, because they see so much of a big impact with crypto. That's why the US is pushing for a crypto law, why Trump is pushing for a crypto law, is because we see both of them. We see so many eyes on crypto right now, and they see potential loss of revenue. They see that, people could be investing in US companies and Ripple, but they cannot because they're afraid of regulation. And when you have $5 million, regulation is very important.
To accelerate institutional adoption of digital assets. So this is where, more institutions will want and need this technology. And if these institutions want to build treasuries or they want to build different financial products inside of their institutions to use crypto for instant settlement or for the tokenization of financial assets, they can go right to Ripple and say, hey, we want to work with your technology. And Ripple will say, hey, what do you need? When do you need it by? And we'll send a team to make that happen. For Ripple and XRP, this regulatory clarity and recognition provides new use cases, facilitating enterprise adoption, financial market integration, and serving as...
Yeah, so if right now XRP is 30% of Korea or Korea trading volume, this means that there is potentially under-tapped markets in Europe, Africa, Southeast Asia. So guys, we're always focusing on the US ETF, but you gotta realize that there are plenty of these countries which they don't have the transfers yet, and they wanna have cheap transfers because again, it's a lot of money, especially $1 maybe in another country is way more than in the US. So here's the real thing, is why no YouTubers are talking about how much XRP will grow in Southeast Asian countries and Japan and all these, I can call them second world countries because I'm from a second world country, if that's not too demeaning. But the important factor is we are seeing right now XRP literally going, from first world countries to massive worldwide adoption.
A liquidity token for tokenized real-world assets. South Korea is watched closely by other Asian financial centers. Its legal clarity and market innovation could boost regional demand for compliant liquid tokens like XRP to serve payment and remittances and settlement needs.
Yeah, so right now this means that Korea will be able to use it for any type of payments, even to the companies or businesses. And I feel like this is why the $200 million deal with Rail was made from XRP side, is because they realize, hey, business to business stable coins. What does this mean? Is when you pay Ripple's XRP stable coins, or whatever they call XRP ledger, XRP dollars, whatever you want to call them, when you pay to another company, it's now going to be the big thing of the future. Again, right now it might sound crazy because you have to use the blockchain, but soon it will be very simplified. And with that being said, this is going to be becoming the mainstream thing right now. When you save a bunch of money on transfers, that's where XRP will make its money and where we will see XRP burns happening. So yeah, opens the door for XRP to be used by institutional investors as a settlement asset or bridge currency. And again, tokenization is the big thing I was talking, is becoming very strong in 2025. Ripple's ongoing integrations, partnerships, and legal clarity following progress in US its case positioned XRP favorably as Korea and Asia more broadly lead in tokenized assets and blockchain adoption. So we're literally one step closer to $10 XRP with this.
In a nearly interoperable digital finance sector. So lots of potential impacts there. Let's get to this information now. A digital asset investor did post this. Let it sink in, then lock in. So we're talking about $3 to $8 billion in inflows by JP Morgan analysts for the spot XRP ETFs. Now we know just because, if we get $3 or $8 billion in inflows, that is going to change the market cap way far beyond just $3 to $8 billion.
I feel like a lot more is going to be coming out. Like these predictions, they're very humble when you think how much money is in the world right now.
That if we look at the actual data right now with inflows and outflows of XRP, we can see that the inflows to market cap change sometimes are compounded 100x, 500x. This recent one was 1250x. Let me show you this information. So Chad posted this on August 3rd. That was yesterday. Today is the 4th. This video will come out in the morning on the 5th. I will make sure Cass gets it out. It says dropping to a low of 272. In a 12-hour period, reversed back up nearly 20 cents, a market cap value of about $20 billion, full supply on a mere $16 million in net inflow. So you start to say, like, Sensei, okay, what is it?
So $60 million of pure cash is what will really change the game. Again, if you want to really see the markets move, it's not that hard as people think. The crypto market is not really 3 trillion. That's just the market cap is what Crypto Sensei is trying to make sense of. So here we see if JP Morgan's prediction of 3 to 8 billion of inflows into hypothetical spot XRP ETF came true, I feel like it's not going to be like 3 to 8 billion. It's probably going to be like 1 to 3 billion or 1 to 2 billion. However, even a direct calculation shows multipliers of around 2.5x to 6.6x. So that's like $18 or $7, something like that. So $7 XRP, I feel like a lot of people would be happy. $18 XRP, a lot of people would be very pleased. And, JP Morgan making this announcement definitely shows there's still room to grow here. It's not over yet.
What kind of are we talking about? What's the market cap multiplier? And here is the information. I posted the information, the photo. I asked, can you analyze this and tell me what the market cap multiplier is? The market cap multiplier for XRP, based on the information in the tweets and the chart, can be summarized as follows. The example highlighted by Chad Sign-Grabber's approximately 16 million in net inflows resulted in 20 billion. This is a result in market cap multiplier of 1250x. Let that sink in. If you do $1 billion in inflows, and if you get a 1250x multiplier, that is $1.25 trillion in market cap. So you can imagine if we get $3 billion or $8 billion, and if we have something even close that resembles a 1200x market cap multiplier, we could be off to the races a lot.
So yeah, 1250x would be like what, 3000 XRP or 1437 would be definitely nice. I feel like the issue is when they talk about this is 1250x would be way, way harder than people, think, because there would be also people selling. So there would be also outflows. I hope Crypto Sensei mentions that because that's a pretty important thing, right? So yes, you can reach, 1300x, but if a whale wakes up to be a billionaire, of course he's going to sell his XRP.
Faster than people assume. Let me show you this information. If we just took 3 billion on the lower amount, that would be about $3.77 trillion market cap. If we took 8 billion, we're talking about $10 trillion market cap for XRP. 3 billion inflows would be a $540 XRP.
So he used Perplexity AI, but the thing you have to consider is this is inflows and there's also going to be outflows, people selling their XRP because it's going to be trades. I mean, in theory, but even the price, your video gives me positive energy. So I'm so hyped, like people are hyped to hit XRP, to see XRP hit 10 trillion market cap. And right now Bitcoin is 2 trillion. So if we want to see 10 trillion, it literally has to do 5x of Bitcoin right now. So I feel like 1,500 is too crazy because it would have to do 5x more. But I feel like 1 trillion, like 10% of that is definitely very realistic. Like half of Bitcoin supply. Again, Bitcoin is only a store of value and XRP has so much more potential. This is where XRP really wins, right? But I'm definitely hoping like 1,400 would knock you off your feet. But I feel like these calculations, they're not 100% accurate because people forgot about the outflows.
Understand the market cap multiplier is not always going to be a 1200x or a 600x or a 100x. It is going to start to get a little bit closer to that 1-to-1 ratio as more liquidity comes on chain. But since a lot of these tokens are illiquid with a lot of liquidity, this is why you get such drastic swings. Now, remember, the same 1250x for inflows going up can work the same way with sells going down. So it is a two-way street. We just need to make sure that we understand.
This always happens in crypto. Nowhere in crypto have you seen like Bitcoin just go up without anyone selling. This is the important factor. You're not just going to have inflows. You're also going to have people selling their XRP.
That. Also, you have Ripple now ranks among the top 25.
But yeah, being in the top 23rd on the list, again, I haven't heard most of these companies. I heard some of them, but it definitely seems like that Ripple still has time to grow. And if Stripe is $70 billion valuation, if they can even reach 10 billion or whatever they are, or like half of Stripe, they would be literally top 10. So are you telling me if they, if Stripe is 70 billion, they cannot reach 70 billion themselves? It definitely seems to me that right now Stripe is leading in payments, and we can get at least, a third of this. So it can go at least to 25 billion. It can reach top 15 for sure. Yeah, payment transfers are worth a lot of money.
Most valuable private companies in the world with a $15 billion valuation per CB Insights. And so you have Ripple here down here under, it says 23. It's tied with all of these other companies. So if Ripple just gains a few more billion, they could be in the top 15, or even if they get to a place of top, if they get to like a $30 billion valuation, they could be in the top 10. In order to knock the top king off, they would need a $350 billion valuation to knock SpaceX out of their top spot. ByteDance, OpenAI. I mean, is this possible? Let me know what you guys think down below.
I feel like, ByteDance, isn't that like TikTok? That's going to be very hard to do. Like SpaceX, again, this is like a rocket company. It's going to be hard right now, but maybe in the future, SpaceX goes to $1 trillion valuation, and of course, XRP follows, and it takes over SpaceX lead. It can, enter top 10, top 15. So Revolut being number 9 at 45 billion, wow, that is insane. That is like a virtual bank. It definitely makes you think that like for payment transfers, it can definitely reach in 30 billion valuation. What is XRP? Like Ripple's valuation right now is top 25. So it could really catch up with the next crypto wave.
Ripple going to be able to achieve these valuations once they IPO and really take the company to the next level. Also, from Good Morning Crypto, Ripple reports Citibank, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and Japan's SBI have invested in 345 deals worth over $100 million between 2020 and 2024. What is this telling us right here?
This is telling us that if they're investing this much into Ripple, that means that we are going to get more continuous partnerships. Again, if they invested 100 million and they just bought a $200 million company, they probably have a lot of money coming in, Ripple. So they're not going to, I know a lot of people are very afraid if they're going to go bankrupt. That's a legitimate concern I heard from a lot of people. Are they going to go bankrupt during the next bear market? And I think with the lawsuit, it's going to be almost impossible for Ripple to go bankrupt because you're always going to need the demand for transfers.
This is telling us that the biggest banks and financial institutions in the world are interested in crypto-related companies, whether it's infrastructure, bridge assets, stable coins, whatever it is. These banks know that they need to have it. The next evolution of finance and banking is going to require the tokenization of financial assets. And these guys understand that they pay tens of millions, probably hundreds of millions of dollars to analysts and executives.
They already had 345 deals, so they might have just like easily 1,000.
To make sure that they are prepared for what's to come. I have just built a course for beginners, intermediate, serial stance.
This is another thing, like how will White House digitalized report affect barter payment projects? So again, I've been telling you, regulation is what's keeping crypto away right now. The lack of regulation, and regulation takes time, right? Well, the US government just announced that from the White House directly, that they will be working on making these crypto regulations solvable.
Order DLT payment projects. I thought this was interesting to at least bring up on the back half of this video. It says the White House's new 166-page digital asset report delivers a clear message: private sector innovation over government issued digital currency. But the policy details reveal a more complex picture. Trump's January executive order banned CBDCs entirely and tasked the president's working group, notably excluding.
So stablecoins now being or having this regulation, we are one step closer to Ripple being basically the number 2 crypto, because that's what they've been waiting for, right? Regulation for their own ledger or their own blockchain, which they mostly transfer stablecoins. They mostly do payments with stablecoins, which is why they required regulations so badly.
The Federal Reserve and banking regulators with drafting, notably excluding, with drafting this comprehensive framework. Despite consulting these agencies, the report takes an adversarial stance toward them. And it says the ban initially appeared to cover all central bank digital currencies without distinction. However, the House recently passed the Anti-CBDC Surveillance Act targeting only retail CBDCs, leaving the question about wholesale versions used between institutions. That is interesting. We've had a conversation about this in the past, right? I get why you don't want a retail CBDC because, you know, people are afraid and worried that the government will use that to control them. And if you take a look at some countries right now, you are actively seeing how that is being weaponized and used in society. I won't name the country here, but I think we can guess the country has over 1 billion people in their population and is growing considerably. And they are one of the BRICS countries. I'm sure that you can figure that out now that I've given you that information. But when you're talking about a wholesale CBDC, right, central bank to bank, that is where this didn't make sense, because those same issues about privacy and control really don't matter with a wholesale CBDC. That's not for you and me. That's not for businesses. That's for financial institutions and central banks. So you start to understand, like, hey, I do think they probably will move forward with this quietly in the background. I'll bring you all of the information and updates as
I feel like a lot of people are not upset about the CBDCs if they don't control you. I feel like most people will be using stablecoins, Ripple stablecoins anyway. So that's the most important factor. They will be using, Tether, XRP, as long as they're not forced upon you. But anyway, we got the ban already, so that's set in stone. So nothing is going to change on that part, whatever I say. The bans are here. Trump didn't want the bans, if I remember correctly, or he wanted the bans. There was a huge drama because a lot of people didn't want to sign it. So the Congress was like 50-50 on these CBDC bans, which is central bank digital currency.